Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now Andy Ruiz Jr. was asked about his interest of fighting Deontay Wilder. This is what he had to say. Of course, everyone's been talking about that fight. I would love to fight Wilder and Tyson Fury. So that is a fight that is definitely on the cards for Andy Ruiz Jr. and I'm glad that it is. Ruiz has a comeback on April 24th, I believe. Then we can start talking about further fights for Ruiz, provided he gets the victory, which of course he should. Now, is there a possibility of Deontay Wilder Ruiz later this year? Yes, that is definitely a possibility because they are both on the same platform, although Ruiz has a comeback planned whereas Deontay Wilder does not. So that could throw a spanner in the works because Wilder is not going to take a year and a half off and not have a comeback fight then go in against Ruiz. That is not going to happen 100%. We can guarantee that he won't fight Ruiz in his comeback. It will be a Charles Martin, maybe someone else first for Deontay Wilder. Interestingly enough, could even be Bogdan Dinu. Yes, that sounds crazy, but the reason for me believing that is because Wilder is like number 2 in the WBA, and Bogdan Dinu for some unknown reason is number 3 or just behind Deontay Wilder. For whatever reason that may be, that is the ranking within the WBA. And if they fight one another, then that's number 2 and number 3 fighting one another. So that's only going to help Deontay Wilder with his ranking and perhaps even get him an eliminator for the WBA, which sounds crazy. Coming off of a loss against Tyson Fury, then he gets ranked second by the WBA and could potentially be only one fight away from an eliminator to become mandatory. But hey, that's how it's panned out, and obviously Deontay Wilder is going to play the hand he is dealt. I wouldn't imagine it would be too hard for Wilder to get another world title opportunity. Someone might give it to him, or considering his rankings, he's going to get there based off of a mandatory position anyway. Is he going to risk Ruiz in the meantime? Is it the big question? Those around Deontay Wilder probably would not want to put him in there with Ruiz, purely because it's a tough fight. It's a fight he would probably lose. In my opinion, I'd pick Andy Ruiz all day long to beat Deontay Wilder. He's just all wrong for him. If Wilder could keep him away and land at something significant, then he can cause an effect. I think that he punches hard enough to stop anyone in the heavyweight division, but you have to keep him away. Wilder has proven he's not really capable of doing that, especially when he was in there with Tyson Fury. Just couldn't keep him away. So if he's unable to keep Fury away, someone who's kind of a back foot boxer, pure boxer, very slick, very awkward, moves extremely well, if he cannot keep him away when he's going away from his number 1 to go forwards on the front foot, fight on the inside, be rough, how's he going to deal with someone whose number 1 is to do that? And that is the case with Andy Ruiz Jr. His number 1 is getting on the inside, making it rough, working down to the body, staying close on the chest of his opponent. Ruiz, yes, doesn't have the fastest feet, so it's difficult for him to get in range when there is a fighter who continuously moves. But Wilder does not have fast feet either, so therefore he cannot get out of range, and Ruiz would then be able to sit in the pocket, get up close to Wilder, and land those body shots. I do not believe that Wilder could find any kind of game plan to put together that he could carry out in the ring with Ruiz. But still, it's a great fight. It's a fight that I want to see. It's a fight that many boxing fans will be interested in. So it is good to see Ruiz talking about it. We're not really hearing Wilder talk too much at the moment. He does kind of come in and out. Like 1 minute he's talking a lot and saying about Tyson Fury, about potential fights like Dillian White. Then he did even speak about the Andy Ruiz Jr. fight, but the thing is with Wilder is he seems to come and go. 1 minute he's in the media and everyone's talking about him. He's saying things about Tyson Fury, about AJ, about these fights he wants, with potentially Dillian White, Andy Ruiz, even Helenius. But then he's gone and you don't hear anything from him for a month or 2, then he's back again. It is strange behaviour. I know that he has that thing going on with arbitration and mediation or whatever it is with Tyson Fury. At this point, I'm not sure anyone really cares about what's going on behind the scenes at the moment. I think that we just want the big fights to happen. AJ Fury, just make it happen. Doesn't matter about the things going on behind the scenes. We just want to see these fights made. We want to see them happen. Just like a Ruiz versus Wilder. I mean, we're getting a great fight with Dillian White versus Povetkin coming up on the 27th. Brilliant fight. Joe Parker versus Derek Chisora. Great fight for May 1st. Why are those fights made? Why is it so easy for them to put together a Dillian White versus Povetkin, a Joseph Parker versus Chisora? these good fights, but it doesn't seem to be possible to make AJ versus Fury. It just gets so complicated, and Ruiz versus Wilder. There always it seems to be something getting in the way of these big fights and big matchups taking place, and it's kind of annoying. Ruiz versus Wilder, I hope it takes place. Why can't it just be? Ruiz has his fight on April 24th. Wilder fights a couple of weeks after in a comeback fight. Then they just go and fight one another, do an elimination process because they are both on the same platform, so it wouldn't be that hard to do. But it just doesn't seem to happen because Wilder is ranked high within the WBA. So if he beats someone like Dinu, then goes on to an eliminator, he's going to get a world title opportunity and bypass all of the tough challenges like Ruiz, Parker, even a Derek Chisora, Dillian White. Those fights will be missed by Deontay Wilder and he'll end up fighting Dinu, then someone like Trevor Bryan, and that's how it will go for Deontay Wilder. No big fights. I would like to see Ruiz versus Wilder, but at this point, I'm not entirely sure it's going to happen. I wouldn't put money on it taking place anyway. Now, there have been some red herrings from Billy Joe Saunders. Apparently at one point he had flu, and now he put out a comment which was responded to by Eddie Hearn because he had people messaging him. Billy Joe Saunders simply put on Twitter, "Ruptured my scrotum." Yeah, I don't even want to know how he done that. I mean, obviously it's just red herrings, and Eddie Hearn has been getting calls from media asking if Billy Joe Saunders really has torn his scrotum. Now, of course, this is just Billy Joe Saunders being Billy Joe Saunders. He does this, he puts things out on Twitter, he says things that he doesn't necessarily mean or are true. It's just a bit of harmless fun. So if Billy Joe Saunders is putting out red herrings, albeit kind of unbelievable, then fair enough to him. I mean, it might be true, and if it is, then he's obviously not buying into the superstition of many boxers before fights. I think you all know what I mean by that. That does of course depend on how the injury was sustained. This Canelo fight though, this is going to be incredible for Billy Joe Saunders, extremely exciting to see if Billy Joe Saunders can do it, or how close can he come. We have seen instances where pure boxers like say Billy Joe Saunders, his kind of style, would give Canelo problems, but nothing like that recently. The only one to come close to beating Canelo was Golovkin, and in the opinion of many, he actually won that fight. But still, that is the closest anyone has come to beating Canelo. And Callum Smith alluded to Billy Joe Saunders not having the power to keep Canelo away. But again, he's never struggled with someone who brings that kind of power. Billy Joe Saunders does have a bit of a pop to his punches, but nothing compared to the power that Canelo has received from Golovkin, Sergey Kovalev, even the likes of Callum Smith himself. So that's not going to be something that is going to be a handing weapon for Billy Joe Saunders. It helps, but I don't see Canelo being bothered by the power of Billy Joe Saunders. He wasn't from Callum Smith, Gennady Golovkin, so therefore it's not going to be a big problem for Canelo. The problem is going to come with a slick southpaw who can move and is very elusive and has good footwork, although this is at 168. Billy Joe Saunders' best performances have come at 160. That does raise the question, all of the attributes that Billy Joe Saunders has that he will use in his favour against Canelo, do they still apply at 168? Is he able to move as well and be as fast and elusive at that weight compared to 160 where his best performances have come? This is a different weight class, and he's in there with an elite level super middleweight. So I guess only time will tell if Billy Joe Saunders' attributes will cause Canelo any problems, and if they are still effective at 168. Guys, anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Pick your favourite subject and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.